The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on the break!
with Ambar Garcia, Brian Broaddus, Patrick Walker, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, May 1st, 2024, Season 20, Episode number 5. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, presented by LG. And today we recap the NFL Draft. Cowboys had an interesting 3 days. We'll get into our thoughts on each of the different picks and what they bring to the Cowboys, upsides, and where there are risks and all those sorts of things. We'll go pick by pick, but before we go through that, just overall, and this is not, again, you don't have to get into the specifics of particular guys, but just overall looking at how the Cowboys conducted themselves throughout the weekend. What are your initial thoughts? Let's start first with you, Patrick.
Oh, I was going to let the draft network.
No, man, we're all good. You're the one that called that Detroit trade. So
He did call that one. We got to give him a little love for that.
So first and foremost, thank you, Cowboys, for not only striking a trade in the first round, but you were able to still remain in position, strike in position to be able to get a starting offensive lineman, and that became Tyler Guyton. But then you were able to also parlay that into the 73rd overall pick, which became Cooper Beebe, whom I am a massive fan of. So, yes, you lost Graham Barton, but losing Graham Barton picked you up Guyton and Beebe. I can't be mad at that. So I think that the first round, they handled it magnificently. They were even on the phone lines taking calls at pick 29 to consider moving back further, maybe 31, 32. They had Kansas City on the phone. But I did say last week that I didn't see a scenario necessarily wherein they'd be comfortable moving out of the first round. Why? Because they wanted fifth-year control, because they're not typically an organization that gets deals done proactively. That fifth year of control comes into play. Asked Stephen Jones about it post-draft. He said, exactly, absolutely, they want the fifth year. So got that on Tyler Guyton. I would have liked to see them come away with another trade back, try to get back, or maybe get back into that fourth round. I wanted to see them use next year's draft capital to be able to do that. They weren't comfortable doing that. That's one of my only knocks, in that they let the fourth round go by without them getting into it, because what did that cost them? A running back. You saw that run on running backs in the fourth round, and that had to kill them to see that. And that led to them not drafting a running back at all. So those are my only knocks. But overall, when you look at what they came away with, you talk about Marshawn Nealon. I think that although he's not one of the bigger names in this draft, which is why Cowboys fans are like, who's that guy? Go watch the film. There's a reason a guy like Dane Brugler had him ranked, I believe, 32nd in the Beast. If you don't subscribe to the Beast, then you're missing out there. But overall, you triple down on offensive line. You got yourself a quality linebacker, got yourself a sleeper in Ryan Floor now. I like what they did. They even got the big boy in Justin Rogers in the 7th round. Granted, that's a flyer, but he comes from a big program. He was impactful at a big program in Auburn. I like it. I like it a lot.
They coveted the tackle more than the center. They liked the linebacker more because of what they went through last year with the problems they had, more than the running back. They were able to recoup let me put it this way. They found the right team to trade back with. Detroit was super aggressive in this draft, and they were willing to give up an overpay to get there. They were giving up multiple picks anyway, to move around there. So to me, you're going in, you're trying to figure out, okay, how we're going to help the offensive line, how are you going to help the linebackers. I think that they did that with both their picks right there. I think instead of forcing a running back late by taking the corner from Wake Forest, I think they showed great discipline there. This kid's a heck of a football player, and I know we're going to get into all these kids and talk about them. But overall, I think you have to give them a lot of credit. Their ability to be patient in some areas, their ability to work the phones, and their ability to grab players that they feel like can help them. Now, me personally, I love the Guyton pick. I think I love the BB pick more. Mm-hmm. And I think BB is one of these guys. Now, we'll see. We'll see about the potential transition from the guard to the center. But if you talk about a guy that's in that mode of plug and play, I think BB's that guy. maybe a little bit more than Guyton is right now. Guyton's a good player, but he's just going to need a little work in some areas.
Yeah, that's one of the things I seem to have heard a lot as I've read different people's takes on the Guyton pick is that he's a bit of a project. How much of a project he is, who knows?
Not to the point of project where you would you're just going to have to totally remake the kid.
Right. Just a couple things you got to refine.
There's some things that you're going to have to deal with the hands and the feet. But we heard the same thing about Tyler Smith, because Tyler Smith led the nation in holding calls, and it was his hands. A lot of his hands were, his hands were a little wonky at times. But to your, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, that's good.
But it's not that project where you're like, we're just taking a guy here and maybe we can make it work. No, this guy's got a lot of really good traits to his game.
Yeah, and I said this in the post draft pod, and Ambar was there as well. Money on the table. I believe Guyton is your starting left tackle when Week 1 comes around. I think they put him through the crash course. I don't think this is a Mozzie Smith situation where they're like, okay, well, we'll have you learn behind the veteran in this situation, be like Chuma Edoga, something like that. I think they throw Guyton out there after this training camp, and they say, hey, it's time for you to learn by hook or by crook how to play left tackle. But to his credit, and like Brian is saying, he's not a completely raw prospect, right? So he has played effectively at the edge, albeit right tackle with Oklahoma. But in speaking with the young man, he said he prefers to play left tackle, which sounds like he wished he would have gotten more burn there at Oklahoma. So he was
checking the blind side of the quarterback because it was a left-handed quarterback.
Left-handed quarterback,
right?
Yeah.
So he sounds like a guy who's kind of champing at the bit to get to left tackle because he actually wants to be on that side. So I could see him just soaking up every single thing that he can to make sure that he's effective.
Here's the magical question when you say you expect him to be the starter Week 1. Is that because of his level of ability, or is that because of the level of competition he will be facing at left tackle?
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
I think it's more, to me, I guess you could say yes there. But to me, I don't think anybody at left tackle is proven there. To me, that's where they clearly had a need to draft a tackle, and they got one, and they plug and play guys, and so we'll see. I mean, I like the pick. I really, really do, man. Fitano was coming down the board, that kid from Washington. I thought, man, the draft gods are about to throw him one here. This is a CeeDee Lamb about to come down the board at him. And it just didn't quite get there. But Guyton is a very, very good selection for them.
Yeah, and then when you think about it, and we talk a lot about Asim Richards, for example, and Asim, he's going into his second year. And this is not to say Asim Richards cannot move forward and maybe be a quality swing tackle, but if they felt like he could be a starting tackle in the league effective year 2, they wouldn't have spent a first-round draft pick on a tackle. So when you talk about the level of competition, it's your incoming first-round pick versus a former fifth-round pick last year, Asim Richards, a veteran in Chuma Edoga, Matt Waletzko, who has a high ceiling, but his shoulders don't like to play nice. Josh Ball is going to be moved to the inside, so he's going to have a hill to climb because now he's going up against, the Tyler Smiths and the TJ Basses and the Brock Hoffmans of the world, much like BB is going up against the Brock Hoffmans of the world. So, it's ability, high ceiling on Guyton in combination, I should say, with the fact that the competition just isn't as strong as it probably could be otherwise.
We got to welcome AG to the show here.
She made it.
Yeah. AG fresh off a trip to Minnesota. And I'm going to drop a little nugget for y'all. She was working on this project we got coming up for Deep Blue.
Teaser.
And I'll just say Marion the Barbarian. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, we're saying
just
it
say
already?
Marion the Barbarian is involved in this topic.
Spoiler alert.
Blockbuster spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
Blockbuster spoiler.
I know that's a fan favorite, so it'll be a little. I think people will be excited about that one. But anyway, we're talking about the draft. I'd like you to give me your general thoughts. Obviously, you don't have to go through play by player. We're going to do that in a second. But just overall, what were your thoughts on how the Cowboys approached the weekend?
I think overall, it's I like the picks that they were able to make. I like the trade and the fact that they were able to get 2 players out of that trade, which was very important, especially at the position in the O-line. And overall, other than the running back debate and dilemma there, I do like how they came out of the draft. Now, I'm hesitant to speak on Guyton, because, and I don't know why, and I don't like the feeling or my opinion. I don't like my opinion right now. And every time, everything I've heard from everybody has been very positive. Meeting the guy and listening to him, I love him. I absolutely love him. Love him. Love his personality. Love the will. Like, you can just tell that he's gonna get out there on the field and really work really hard to get to where he needs to be. But something inside me, it's kind of I don't feel great about it. And maybe it's because the amount of expectation, the amount of pressure that you're having to put behind a guy. And we've seen it before where mentally it can really take a toll on you, and you can physically look like the right guy. And this guy his arms are freaking long. Like, it's insane how big this guy is and the length that he has. But something inside me is just feels very uneasy because of the spot that he's having to be put in and the amount of pressure. And sometimes, we've seen it before, and it just makes me uneasy, even though I hear people being very, very excited to what he's bringing. And you love to hear a guy say, hey, I prefer playing left tackle, which is great. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
So do you, because I feel like, and I understand exactly what you're saying, but when you look at the hit rate for Will McClay in the Will McClay era,
that's another thing.
Right. So Broadus made a good point a few minutes ago when it comes to Tyler Smith. When that was the pick, Cowboys got dragged on social media for that pick. Who's this kid? And he leads the nation in holding, and he's coming from Tulane. That's not a program, right?
And by the way, the Cowboys
are
are coming off a year where they were having issues with holding, and so it's like you're just making one problem worse, and it was the whole thing.
And then what happens? Tyler Smith flies right out of the gate as a left guard, and then he helps save the day at left tackle, and then you put him back at left guard, and he's an All-Pro. So, and I mean, we're talking 2 years in. So I think I understand the concern, and we were just talking about our concerns as well when it comes to Guyton. But I think the overall consensus is that not only does he have the physical ability to do it, not only does he have the will and the want to do it, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention his support system and just how strong his support system is and how much he's leaning on that to be great, not just at the NFL level, but there's this extra oomph by it being the Cowboys. When having conversations with his father, seeing how emotional his father was at the pickup, in the locker room, tears, his dad laying on the star, in the star facility. So I think when you have that type of support system kind of pushing him to be great, I don't think Tyler's going to settle for anything less than that.
Also potentially add to the mental pressure of things. And again, maybe it's just the anxiety in me and the panic person that I am in nature, because when you talk about the success that the Cowboys have had drafting O-linemen specifically, it's been great. But in my mind, I'm like, what? Law of probability. At what point did they actually miss one? And again, I'm not trying to be pessimistic, and I want to be very optimistic about everything that he can bring and the trust that I put in Will McClay and his team. But since you guys are forcing me to be on this show and speak something inside me right now at this moment, still feels uneasy.
It is fair.
I wonder where they have, this is just me, the scout in me, I wonder where they had Terrion Arnold, the corner from Alabama, on their board.
That was the one who was picked by Detroit.
That's the one Detroit,
yeah.
Because I know on my board he was my 7th overall player. And if you were playing the game of best available player on the board, Terrion Arnold should have. I mean, and if you didn't have the need at tackle,
was he again?
a corner.
Okay.
Cornerback.
Yeah.
To me, that was one of those things that all of a sudden you're picking potentially at 24 and maybe the 7th best players on your board, and you're like going, they talk about the blinking light. To me, that was a blinking light. If you didn't have the need, and maybe this first pick, this tackle pick, was about need.
Yeah, I think it was, but I think the need was not necessarily just the overriding need was not just necessarily about just getting a tackle.
Yeah,
I think the need was we need another pick. We got too many. We got too many holes we got to fill. We need more options. And so I think for them, I think trading back for me, even if you were going to look at someone like Terrion Arnold, the question becomes: would you take him, or would you take two guys, a tackle and a center potentially? as opposed to taking the cornerback.
I think if Troy Fatanu from Washington was on that board at 24, they wouldn't have got the 73rd pick.
Yeah.
They were gonna hand that card in.
Yeah.
They were going to think, okay, maybe we can do it some other way down the line. The fact that they were offered the 73rd pick, I think, is a huge deal. But I think if a certain player or two was there, I don't see them trading back.
I will tell you this: going into the draft, and we heard some things that came out of the war room. It was a high percentage chance, as far as the way they were looking at going into the draft, that they were going to trade back. I think their expectation was we are trading back, and we're going to find the right partner to be able to pick up an extra pick. And not only did they find the right partner, they found the right partner that got them, that overpaid to come up so they could get a guy like Cooper Beebe.
I had a Detroit fan argue with me, though, about this, and he not argue, but made a point. The overpay by the Lions, actually, for what it would have cost them to go from 29 to get Arnold, say, at 7, is actually a deal.
Yeah, no doubt.
For the player that they got,
Yeah.
I was thinking about, you know what? Yeah, it's an overpay on the chart.
Yeah.
But for Detroit to go from 29 to potentially where this guy was projected to being taken in the top 10, they got a deal.
You paid the price for a higher quality player.
They did.
Right.
They did.
And it worked for everybody. I think this is one of the situations where the trade worked for everybody.
It did, and there's also the thing to consider in that, yes, they ended up getting Guyton, offensive tackle, high area of need. But if Darius Robinson was still on the clock at 29, or still on the board at 29, there was a great chance they were going to pull the trigger on Darius Robinson.
Yeah.
They were very, very high on him, and I'm told that was the discussion. He was in that discussion as well. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. But he went off the board at 27, so that kind of solved the problem there for the Cowboys, and there was Guyton staring them in the face. So.
All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we've talked a little bit about Tyler Guyton. We're going to go through this list of the other picks that the Cowboys made and give you some scouting reports on what we think of these other picks. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Cowboys fans, after that move, we've just coined the term Rowdy Replay. Let's roll back the tape.
Okay, there's our mascot Rowdy cheering on the boys. And now he's on his phone, on his Bank of America mobile banking app?
Staying on top of his finances with his virtual financial assistant, Erica.
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive. Cowboys fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/can't-stop-banking.
Erica is only available in the English language. You must download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Member FDIC.
Welcome back into Dear Doctor, the show where I answer life's questions with an ice-cold can of Dr. Pepper. Sheila, let's hear from our next caller, would you?
Dear Doctor, my friend supported me during a tough time, but what's the right gift that says, thanks for being a shoulder to cry on?
Okay, this one's easy. I say give her a delicious Dr. Pepper. Nothing says, thanks, girl, better than a one-of-a-kind soda. Yes, any Dr. Pepper flavor will do. Now, just a reminder that I don't need to be a real doctor to know that Dr. Pepper is the one you deserve.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Back to the break.
Register now for 2024 Dallas Cowboy Youth Football and Dance Camps presented by Invisalign. Athletes of all skill levels, ages 6 to 16, are invited to learn from the best at this summer at the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. Register for 2 or 3 day camps before May 17th to save $25. Visit DallasCowboys.com/camps.
All right. Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break. We're live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, presented by LG. And the segment's brought to you by blockchain.com. All right, let's go through this list. I want to throw out a name, and then I want you guys to kind of give me your thoughts on the pick. what you think of it, and whether you think it's a good pick for the Cowboys or what you see in that player that could be good or bad. Let's start first with the second pick, number 56 overall, defensive end Marshawn Nealon out of Western Michigan.
Great pick. Here's your DeMarcus Lawrence clone. In my eyes, this guy he has some work to do and to be consistent in pass rushing off of the edge. He's shown signs, obviously, that he can be disruptive in that capacity, but boy, does he know how to seal the edge against the run. Absolutely.
Bring me three of those.
Bring it on.
Bring me three of those.
I expect that he's going to glue himself to DeMarcus Lawrence, and I think that's going to be his role going forward. I absolutely love it.
Really strong. Not a bendy guy.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, this is where all of a sudden we blame linebackers and defensive tackles for poor run defense. They said, to hell with that. We're going to sign a guy that can play the edges. They need to get better on the edges playing against the run. And this guy can do that, though. Like I said, he is going to have to develop some pass rush skills. The effort, the chase, all that, though, he's just not – his first step is really good, but he needs to find a way to carry that to the corner. And like I said, he's not the bendiest guy. When I think of Lawrence, Greg Ellis, who he was compared to, kind of some stiffness in both the way, especially with Ellis. But Ellis could get the corner and then close it. This kid, I think, is going to have to work to get to the corner. But playing run defense, he's not going to give anything up playing run defense. He's just that powerful of a guy.
Based on the plays that I did watch from him, something that stood out to me is his awareness, like football awareness, where he can keep an eye and be aware exactly kind of where the play is going or where the ball is going, which is something that I've seen with some of defensive players in the past that they struggle with sometimes, of just kind of keeping up with the speed. And I think he's a guy that has shown, again, on the plays that I've watched, that he can kind of keep up, and we'll see if that easily translates for like NFL speed, which is a lot faster.
Yeah, the one thing that pops out to me is the one play that I saw from him that was particularly impressive, I think, is floating around the internet, is one where the Iowa game where he beats his guy, gets off him, and then just decapitates the running back. And the running back's running kind of up the A gap. So it's kind of, that's what you're looking for in this run game, because so often what we saw from the Cowboys is guys kind of hold they can't get off their blocks. The running back finds a gap, a seam, and he's in it and he's gone. And in this instance, I love the fact he was able to shed, get down the line, and actually make the tackle. That's something I think the Cowboys sorely need when it comes to their run defense. All right, let's move on to the third round pick number 73. What's up? Oh, you're talking about?
Come on with it.
Cooper Beebe, offensive lineman from Kansas State. The expectation is he will be a guy that they will slide into the center position. Your thoughts?
Heart eye emoji. Cooper Beebe he's a mauler. He's a road grader. One of the reasons that he was available in the third round would be, you look at something like his wingspan's not the longest, his arms aren't the longest, but he was effective at tackle for Kansas State. He showed he can do that. I don't think that he has the arm and wingspan to be able to do that at the NFL level, but this is a guy who's played all 5 spots on the offensive line and can do it. We mentioned a little bit earlier about, will he be asked to take on the center role with Dallas? I believe up front he will. He's already taking reps at center as far as preparation goes with our good friend Duke Manyweather, so he's already in preparation for that. But when you talk about physical stature, he is a unit, and he has a demeanor that is visceral and brutal, and he wants to, in his own words, he likes to, quote, dirt guys. He wants to beat those guys senseless that are trying to come at him, so over the course of 4 quarters, they just don't want to see him anymore. That's the kind of demeanor the Cowboys have been lacking at center, but also even when you look at Tyler Biadasz, one of the biggest knocks on Biadasz was strength issues. Although we can sit here and say that Cooper Beebe doesn't have the longest arms, but the power that's in those arms and his hands, it'll more than get the job done for the Cowboys. I could not love this pick more than I do.
He's an old school offensive lineman. Guys I used to watch when I was a kid back in the 70s, in the 80s growing up. He gets real close to you, and he doesn't have the arm length to extend on you, but where he does is once he gets a hold of you, he is going to maul you. And you would think that at 6'3", 322, he would have problems getting to the second level with foot quickness and a balance and those things. Not at all. I mean, he can hit you. He can target guys. He's got accuracy with the way he finds his guys. He's a little bit of a push-shove blocker. Like I say, when you get real close to somebody, that's how you're going to play. But he will knock down as many defenders as he can on a given play. I've seen him like secure a down lineman and then get to the second level and knock another guy down there. So we'll have to see. Like I say, the center part of it's going to be a little different from him because here he's coming out of a stance and going and executing. Snapping the ball, stepping, and then going will be something that he's done before in his career, but now he's going to have to get back on that horse, though, and play it at a much higher level.
I don't judge people by their looks, but it's always hilarious. But it's always hilarious to me when you see linemen that their face is just so innocent, like a baby. Like, who are you gonna hurt?
Eyes, yeah, right. Those eyes are not baby eyes.
Dirt eyes.
Those dirt
Once he's on the field, and that's the thing. You see pictures of him, you see videos of him, just like not playing, and it's like, okay, bro, like who are you, what are you gonna do? And then you watch the plays on the field, and this guy is so aggressive, and that's exactly what you need from a lineman. He's so aggressive, does not give up on the play, and will literally stop once the whistle stops. Like once he hears that, okay, but he just it's amazing. And by the way, just to give you guys an insight, when that pick was made, everybody here in the office was going crazy, watching the highlights. Like, whoa, let's go! It's like, so that's very, very exciting.
Yeah, I'll tell you this from my perspective. Watching him when he played the Longhorns last year, which that was the strength of our team, was our defensive tackles, and he did a really good job against those. I don't know that I saw another team do as well against those two guys all year.
The West Virginia center, Frazier, had a pretty nice day against those guys, and that's why you would talk about him as a guy as you would have possibly have drafted.
Yeah, but I just thought the way he handled those guys physically, and those are big guys. I mean, both those guys are really big, very powerful, and he handled them pretty well. And I think that's what turned me on to Cooper Beebe, and I love that. I love also the idea that they're getting a little bit meaner. That was one of the things actually with Guyton. He said in his press conference, they asked him about playing next to Tyler Smith, and he said, the thing I love the most about Tyler Smith is that he plays with a nastiness. He says, I like to play like that too. And so I'm thinking, okay, that gives me another guy that plays nasty like Tyler, and then you give me a center that plays nasty like that, and obviously just the skill of a Martin. And Still, who also can be a little nasty when he wants to be as well. I love the nastiness of this offensive line in a season where, let's be honest, they're going to need to block really well if this running game is going to get off the ground. And so I love that.
Another thing that Cooper Beebe does exceptionally well is run blocking. He will carve lanes, and like Ambar said, he'll knock the first guy in the dirt, and then he's on the hunt for the second guy. He's at the second level. So in that aspect, he reminds me of like what Lyle Collins would do when you'd see Lyle Collins running down the field almost with the running back. That's Cooper Beebe. He wants to get his hands dirty.
All right, let's go to the second pick of the third round. It was pick number 87, linebacker Marist Liufau from Notre Dame. What are your thoughts?
I like it. And the Cowboys did not want to risk losing him by moving back out of that spot or by taking a running back there because they felt like, obviously, when they went back on the clock that he would not be available. This is a young man with an exceptional wingspan. I'm going to also read from my scouting report on him here. 86th percentile in arm length. Not the fastest guy out there, but also not the slowest. He's 4.6 plus in the 40, which as far as linebackers in this class goes, 70th percentile. So he's far above average there. His demeanor is gruesome. Like, he wants to get it in. He wants to tap in on every single play, covers extremely well. My only concern with him is that he needs to learn how to drop gears when it's time to drop gears. Some of his pursuit angles lead to over pursuit because he's trying so desperately to get to the play that he kind of gets caught at the wrong angle. But if he can kind of refine those skills, I think he can be a player for the Cowboys. Definitely sideline to sideline. Reminds me of what Overshown brings to the table as far as like that long, rangy cover guy. But when Marist gets his hands on you and when he can make contact, he really wants you to remember who just hit you, and that's that Mike Zimmer. I think Mike Zimmer sees that in him, and that's where he's going to come into play.
He's a traditional off-ball linebacker, and you can use him as an edge rusher as well. He plays with physicality and a sense of urgency to his game. He's got the size, the functional strength. I think he's maxed out, though, at 6'2", 234. I don't think he's going to get much bigger there.
Is that undersized or is that okay
That's
for
okay.
that size?
That's okay for right now. And, the thing about him is, though, he's got good patience and he's got discipline in the way he diagnoses. He doesn't take many false steps as a player. There's some explosive power to the way he plays when he steps up and he fills. He's fast in pursuit, and he'll chase ball carriers down. Where I like him too. You can use him in coverage. You could see him. He'll carry tight ends. He'll take backs in the flat. Those are the types of things. He's kind of got some completeness to his game that way. The thing about him as a tackler is, though, he will wrap up. There's a lot of times you see him in space. He'll wrap up and do a good job of that. Then other times you'll see him kind of miss. And so he needs to be a little bit more consistent in that area. But he does a great job of getting to the football.
I have mixed opinions on him because even though, Brian, you say the size is good, personally for me, I like my linebackers a little bit bigger and thicker.
Clark.
And I'm already kind of missing that from Overshawn. Like, we haven't seen him yet. I haven't seen him recently, so I don't know how much bigger.
I was about to say, I actually think he can put on some weight. I think his frame can carry a little bit more.
Overshawn?
Yeah.
Overshawn's already put on weight.
I haven't seen him recently, so I don't know how,
I saw him
he,
yesterday.
he looks.
Bigger,
and he looks good.
Okay, then that's good. That's good.
Just put it that way.
Like it.
Looks good.
Well, okay.
And energy is great. He can't wait to get back out there.
The thing with Mike is Mike will play with a linebacker because he did it with Dak Wynn and Dexter Coakley. If you're small, Mike needs you to be smart and quick with your thoughts of how to play. Mike can't use you if you're small and you don't play that way with instincts and quickness of thinking. He won't play you. So this kid kind of fits into the bill of being able to think and react the way you need to do it. So, I mean, to me, this is the one point in the draft though where I had two running backs on the board, and I was thinking, okay, you drafted two offensive linemen. Now go fix this running game. Now go get Lloyd from USC or go get Wright from Tennessee. That's where I would have gone. But I understand what they did here. We interviewed.
Well, you needed to address the position.
Day 3 of the draft, we interviewed Scott McCurley, the linebackers coach. He didn't want to go through that. He said, "Hey, God bless Marquise Bell for the way he played. God bless all those guys for stepping in. They ran out of linebackers. They were short at that spot, and it affected the way they play. The picks they made with Nealon and this kid, they're going to try and help themselves in the running game.
And also keep in mind, this is a Butkus Award semifinalist from last year. So for anyone who's wondering if this kid, just generally speaking, if this kid can play, he can absolutely play. You don't get that far in the Butkus Award nomination if you don't know how to impact games.
They had two good linebackers there. Kid Bertrand got picked just a little bit later in the draft, but you watch Notre Dame's linebackers. They're downhill players.
Well, something that we talked about quite a lot last year, as far as some of the issues on the defense, was the lack of size and just those types of matchups where you have the right amount of power and size to go up against some of those offensive players last year. But either way, I think, and this is something that I'm going to have to learn, that is what Mike Zimmer is going to bring to the table. And every coach has a different usage for different body types and player preferences for those guys. So we'll see how he exactly fits in. But definitely a good pick in the sense that it does address the linebacker position, which for me, I saw it a bigger need there rather than the running back. And I know that's a debatable topic, but yeah, happy with it.
All right, we're going to take our final break. We'll come back. We'll get through the rest of these picks. We'll do that when we come back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Don't put off getting your oil change, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. There's no appointment needed and no waiting room. Yep, you heard that correctly. Take 5 is so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's fast, friendly, and simple service at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Back to the break.
Country Music's Party of the Year is back like never before. The Academy of Country Music Awards returns to the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco May 16th. See the biggest stars in country music and watch unforgettable live performances. Limited tickets are available now at SeatGeek.com.
Welcome back. We are in the final segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios, presented by LG. Let's jump in. We've got the 5th, 6th, and 2 7th-round picks that we need to talk about. Let's start with the 5th-round pick number 174, defensive back Kalen Carson out of Wake Forest. What do we know?
I'll make this real quick. Great athlete, great value for the Cowboys here. Two-way player, former two-way player. He played wide receiver and cornerback in his recent football career. 4.48 second 40-yard dash, which is comparable to what Trayvon Diggs did. I think Trayvon was a 4.42, 4.43, something like that. So not the fastest, but definitely not slow as well. He's going to be somebody who can be disruptive with both his catch radius. When you talk about his arms, doesn't have the biggest hands, but he can be there at the point of attack nearly every time. He's frustrating to wide receivers because he likes to press. He likes to get his hands dirty. He'll get up on you at the line of scrimmage and make that route a little bit difficult to get off of on the release. So overall, and at the same time, because he was formerly a wide receiver, not unlike Trayvon Diggs, he can diagnose quarterbacks' reads in real time, probably faster than most traditional cornerbacks can. So I like this pick.
Watch the Florida State game, man. They got some cats that can play over on that other side.
Yeah.
Big time receivers over there, and he was up to the task. He's a very competitive. He's a fiery guy. The way he plays, he's quick-footed. He plays as what we call a field corner, and a field corner plays the whole open side of the field. You hear boundary corners in scouting, and you hear field corners. Jerry Madelon's so proud of me right now.
He is.
Hi, Jerry.
And he is so. But a boundary corner uses the sidelines. Field corner uses the field. So what you're going to have to do is you carry the whole field. So you carry all those routes. Mm-hmm. This kid's got the ability. He can play both sides. But what you want to do with him is maybe think about him with a slot corner. Where he's going to have to improve is he will get his hands on balls. He will knock down passes and stuff like that. He's got to do a better job of intercepting those passes.
Yes, indeed.
And so, he's a very willing tackler. He's right on the spot. When he does that, the length, the demeanor is very, very good. I love the way he plays. The in-breaking routes. You get those in-breaking routes and you have somebody that can carry in-breaking routes as a corner. Those are the guys you want to play with on your team. This guy was a really nice pick for them.
Well, another thing is his special teams ability and what he brings there. And it's going to be interesting because now with the new rules on punts and kicking and all that, you got to change up and you need guys to help with all of that. So I think it's a good pick. Need to see more from him, but not bad.
Yeah, everything I've seen and heard about him is very, very positive. My question becomes, why was he available in the 5th round?
You know what? It was one of the deepest drafts of cornerbacks that I think I've been a part of. And I know I got to the point, I know Isham Worse and I were laughing about it. You felt like you looked at 30 corners, and this sometimes, like I say, there's different traits for players that I think where you look at him, maybe people dinged him on the ball skills. Maybe they dinged him a little bit on the speed. But to me, I even said it on the draft show, when they made the pick, I'm like, now they're back on track. I was kind of thinking, I didn't want him just to reach on running back.
Yeah.
The last thing I wanted him to do is just, okay, we're going to take a running back because we have to take a running back. No, they took a legitimate player here that could help them. Like I said, but the depth of the position, the ball skills, and maybe a little bit of his speed might have got people off him a little.
All right, in the 6th round, Cowboys at pick number 216 select wide receiver Ryan Flanoy out of Southeast Missouri. What do we know?
Freak athlete. Absolute freak of an athlete. For those that subscribe to the relative athletic scale, which is 1 to 10 athleticism for prospects coming in that measured against the database of other prospects in previous years, 9.88. 9.88 on a scale of 1 to 10. He is an absolute freak. And he's also going to come in and immediately challenge to be your Michael Gallup replacement. He
jumping over the young guys.
Yeah, he has the size, and he can go up and go over smaller cornerbacks, smaller defensive backs. At the point of attack, he attacks with violence, much like Michael Gallup did. He has the footwork to be able to get his feet down, much like Michael Gallup did. So we talk a lot about, Jalen Tolbert, hopefully seeing more opportunities and things like that. Well, news for Jalen Tolbert is that he's going to have some real competition here with a guy like Florida.
Yeah, this guy's a great-looking player physically. And I also had a question here because I liked Brandon Rice of USC, the wide receiver. Jerry's son. Yeah, this is where, and they don't give a damn what I think. But, my board, the way I had it when we were talking about the draft, I was like, maybe I would consider Rice at this point. But Flournoy he's one of these guys. He's a good-looking player physically. 6'1", he's 202. I've seen him catch the ball behind him. He'll gather himself and then get into the end zone. He's got natural hands. He thrives on the underneath routes and the ability to catch the ball on the move. He's got no issues with that. He's really a natural pass catcher. Maybe a little bit of a downside on him is he'll be 25 years old later in the season. So, but the development there, we talk about players that end up like at Southeast Missouri and places like that. I have no trouble with that. Jerry Rice went to school at Mississippi Valley. Walter Payton went to school at Jackson State. Players play, you go find them is what you do. I think maybe some people in the Big 12 might have missed this kid.
Yeah.
Some people might have. He probably should have been playing at one of these Power 5 schools. But here he is at Southeast Missouri. He physically, like I say, he's a great-looking kid, and he can catch the football.
Yeah, you're not going to out-muscle him. You're not going to out-athlete him. My biggest knock to him was he just needs to refine his route running, which isn't unheard of when you're talking about a prototypical X-receiver. Michael Gallup, that was one of the things that he needed to work on. So if this kid can come in and add route running to his arsenal and his size, he can be lethal.
Yeah, he doesn't run many routes.
Right.
Yeah,
get it.
super athletic. Everything I saw from him, I absolutely liked, especially like his hand. And what's going to be interesting is what happens with how everything sorts out during training camp and all of that, because I do think this guy has a legitimate chance of competing for a spot. But are you willing to make a big move like that if you're the coaching staff and giving a less experienced guy over the guys that they have? I'm blanking out on his name.
Tolbert?
No, not Tolbert. The other one that we love.
Brooks?
Yes.
Jalen Brooks.
Yeah, Jalen Brooks.
He showed some things last year.
Jalen Brooks, that's a guy to watch. Yes, he's shown some things. So I'm curious to see what happens and how things get sorted out, but love the pick.
All right, real quick, we got 2 more picks we need to get to, both in the 7th round. We had pick 233. We had offensive tackle Nathan Thomas out of Louisiana Lafayette, and then at pick 244, defensive tackle Justin Rogers out of Auburn. Give me your thoughts on those 2 players.
Real quick on Nathan Thomas. This is the Cowboys tripling down on offensive line. This is a fairly athletic kid considering his size. He has the arm length, and he has versatility as well. He can play tackle. He can play some guard. Wondering if the Cowboys are going to play him more interior than exterior. We'll see how that goes. But his power in his hands is insane. Once he gets his hands on a would-be pass rusher or defensive lineman, it's just a wrap. Once he engages with you, he's going to steer you like a car, basically. Biggest knock to him is he just needs to improve his lateral movement, and that's why I could see the Cowboys possibly moving him inside to see what he has there. But if they refine that lateral movement, then yeah, he can be a viable swing tackle for you.
Yeah, the thing about him was he probably went much higher. There's a medical condition about him that some teams kind of came off of there, but the upper body strength, the power. He's really good at setting away from the line of scrimmage. And you watch him in the running game when he plays in space for a man that big. He does a great job of finding his guy and then being able to eliminate that. You see him on the reaches, the scoop block, stuff like that. He's got the athletic ability to make those types of plays.
He has the physique for sure, the size, and I love the versatility that he can bring where he can play guard and tackle. But I was surprised that they went for another offensive lineman. Again, I'm no draft expert. I don't know who else was available that could have been better. But I will say I was surprised that they went for another O-lineman there.
Yeah, at that point, you're trying to just get guys with traits, right? And you're trying to see if we can turn those traits into players. Right?
And this is also where you try to avoid, because if you have these guys pegged as high priority undrafted free agents and you're in the 7th round on your final pick, you just go ahead and pull that trigger to keep them from possibly negotiating and leaving for another team.
And the ones you think you have the least amount of opportunity to be able to sign as undrafted free agents, right? So the ones that you think are going to be more highly coveted, you go ahead and pick those, or you think for whatever reason they would not want to come to your team. Whether there's a lot of depth and they don't think they'd have a shot. Like those are the kind of picks you just make
them come to your team.
Exactly. And finally, talk about Justin Rogers out of Auburn. What are you looking at there?
He was the last one that you could have taken that had that size, that one technique size. There's a couple. Him and Anderson from Florida Atlantic were the last two guys. So there you go. Size. He's Patrick was talking about when you talk about where he played in the SEC at Auburn. Physical player, point of attack, transfer from Kentucky. They've kind of looking for that type of guy, but he was the very last one that you could have drafted that could have probably helped you at one technique playing at that size.
This is one of those rare times where looking at his athleticism as it goes to the RAS, the relative athletic score, I was actually excited that it was like 1.8. The reason I was excited is because this is simply a guy that's just under 6'3", and he is absolutely massive. I don't care if he's athletic. He's going to eat up double teams, and that's what you need your nose tackle to do. He has the hand strength to be able to not only eat them up, but power through and push the interior of the pocket. I think that this is, and I could see why they didn't want to risk him to undrafted free agency. Yeah. He has a very real opportunity. With Carl Davis was re-signed. That's wonderful. Shouts out to Carl Davis. But if you're talking about a player, especially a flyer pick, which is the 7th round, who has the ability to possibly come in as early as this training camp and push to be, the guy behind Mozzie Smith, and also show Mozzie Smith what, remind Mozzie Smith what it means to play nose tackle. Get your weight back up, Mozzie Smith, and get off the ball quickly and things like that. Obviously, there are some downsides to him, but this is just a massive human being who loves to get his hands dirty, and there's a reason Will McClay called him Big Nasty, and I love that.
Well, I was talking about size, and he's a guy that you can literally land there, and he'll take up some size, and he's also good with stopping the run, and he has some experience there, which is something that you currently lack. So, again, I think it was a great pick, and surprisingly, to me, after watching some of his plays, I was surprised that he was still just there sitting, waiting for someone to pick him.
That was a thin group, that one technique. And there was a couple of guys that were there, but I could say there were several that were drafted, and then he was really the last one that you could have said, okay, this guy has a chance to help a team.
One of the only knocks I had against him really quickly was that sometimes he can get high in his stance, and he just needs to understand and get more consistent at staying low in his stance, because if he can do that, then his momentum will continue to be devastating upon impact. Once he gets a little tall in his stance, it's easier to move him around, so that's one thing. But something that I came across, and shouts out to Dan Brugler, does magnificent work with finding these little tidbits. This kid, this prospect, this young man, received a scholarship from Kentucky as an 8th grader. So if you wanted, as an 8th grader.
What?
as an 8th grader.
That means he had the size back in 8th grade. They were like, yeah, we'll take him now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never heard of such thing.
So if you want to know what the ceiling is on this big, monstrous nose tackle, in 8th grade, the University of Kentucky gave him a scholarship.
You can't teach size.
You can't.
All right, we appreciate you guys, Jonas. We'll be back next week. We'll talk a little bit more about this running back position. Cowboys pick up Ezekiel Elliott. We'll talk about how he fits into this backfield and what are the things the Cowboys may be expected to do at some point here, either before the season or during the season. We'll talk about that next week. Till then, for Patrick Walker, Brian Broaddus, and Amber Garcia, I am Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!